bronze and stuff, how delicate this is. And what I've got here, I've got a little bit of, Cindy's got a nice one up here if you want to talk about it, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. But there's a growth, I call them a growth cycle. You can see this, they got up to almost 2.5 inches, 3 inches are a really good one. But that's a big shell. But you can see them here, they're all, you know, little tiny ones and stuff like that. And you'll see, and they usually have pink tips with a lace. You don't really see this too often. I've only seen it once. But when they're really, really babies, they're really a bright orange pink. You gotta go look at. But the rest, they become white. There's two varieties down here. They're both the same. They're the same species. It's just two varieties. One's, you know, they call them the browns, or I call them the chocolates because I like that better. But there's also the whites. And these are, you know, I put a couple of whites in here, and they're very white. But they're, like I said, you can see the difference in the shells. And I'm going to pass these around, and if you wouldn't mind, or if you want to, you know, those are a little bit of oil in those too, but you're welcome to, you know, those that you can pick up and you can play with them and stuff like that if you want to.
Now the white here, I have one that's all white there.
Yeah.
Is that an albino?
No, that's the species, that's the difference, Linda. There's the browns and the whites.
And the whites can be totally white.
Totally chalky kind of. But you think they're albinos, but they're not.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that, or we can go on? I'm going to show now one this is in our backyard too, and these are 3 of my best ones. But this is the remember I told you about Dr. Emily Vox? These are the Voxmurex. They named this. They put these in the categories named after her, and this one is it's rolling around. So. These are the Voxmurex Rubiosis, and it's what this is more commonly called the rose muraxes. These are beautiful. If you have a chance to get some of these, they're not common shells, but they're used to get them in Sanibel. They're still there. They even go all the way down to the Bahamas and things like that. But you can get these Cayo and the Marco and all the 10,000 islands down there. This is where they live. But they're a little tough shell, but they've got the beautiful whorls, the beautiful colors. There's even a variety that's a brown and white.
Did you bring it?
I did not. We just found that out from Amy Tripp. I should have. You're right, Linda. But it's hard enough to get all these together. But yeah, she did. Deb found that, and we thought it was something else, you know. But it's brown.
I told her, she brought it over to me, and I said, well, it looks like a hybrid of an apple murex and a rose murex, because it had the long tail, but it was the same coloring as an apple. But Amy Tripp told us it was just a different variety of the rose murex. Right?
And so you always learn something. That's something we just learned them 2 weeks ago. But the rose, or it's kind of a rose orange color. They can have these. This is a pretty big one. This is about as big as the shell gets.
They get that?
So they're little, and that's why they're so hard to find. But you can also get, and I'll just show it, and I'll pass them around. But they break easy. But they have. You can see the tail. These guys can, but the tail will point out too, and you can see it, or they can be really straight. And none of these little ones, some of their spiny muraxes, they also have spines. So, one of my favorites. But, I don't know how many people have gotten these, but this is a shell that, I would suggest you go down to 10,000 Islands and see, Would you mind taking that, Linda, and showing for somebody? That one will roll. Okay. You can look at them. It's just that they're a little bit fragile. Yes, ma'am.
What it would be, you find one of those, how do you know you're not finding a baby lace murex? What's the difference?
I want you to look at it and you'll see. Totally different. Look at it compared to a little lace. Like little laces have sweet tips and the flare wings. These are very solid. They're not flared at all. Look at it and you can tell. Okay. I'm going to go on because it will be here forever. But the next one is I'm going to let a couple of people talk on this one. So Linda and Colleen, this is it's another Voxmurex. Like I'm talking about the spiny muraxes. again, named for Dr. Emily Vox, and it is Voxmurex cabreti, and it's the Cabret's murex. It's the common name. These are in the Atlantic, on the Atlantic side mainly, but we do get them over here when they float over. And when you see this shell, this one was, I had a lot. You know, Linda Hamilton was nice enough to ask Deb and I to come over to Boca Raton, and I think Martha and Judy have gone there too. Other people have gone. But we actually found a lot of cabretis there, and we were blown away. I have, you know, Deb's found them. I found them on Captiva once in a while, but very rare. You know, they're on the East Coast. But you know, this one was off of a shrimp boat. You can, you know, I'm going to pass it around so you can see it. Beautiful operculums are a little bit more rosy, but you can see the spines. And what's neat about this shell, I mean, it's actually pretty sturdy. How do you think anything like that could survive coming all the way from the Atlantic? You know, floating, because they float. The other thing, you know, and I'll talk about with the other Spineys, but these spines, you know, you certainly can break them, but they don't have to have spines either. If you get one and it doesn't have spines, it doesn't mean that they were broken off, is what I'm trying to say. And they're pretty deep water shells too, so they come up from there. I mean, but you know, they find them, like I said, storms will bring these in. Here's, and I'm gonna let Cindy, would you mind doing that? Thank you, darling. And she's gonna take that around, but then I'm gonna turn this over and let Linda and Colleen talk about what they found, okay? Because it's worthy. They've really found a really good find.
Well, my first find of the cabreti too was over on the East Coast. They had dredged over Boca Raton maybe 4 years ago or so now,
Right.
4 or 5 years ago.
We found a lot of this.
And you could walk on the beach there, and then there were like just walls of shells down by the shoreline. But a lot of the cabretis were laying just on top of the sand, which you can't imagine how they could stay still with spines on it after the dredging and then put on the beach. And so that was my first, was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's so pretty and so fragile. But this is one that I found actually on Kuwait,
Right.
on a trip just a few weeks ago, and it was just in the upper raft line. You know,
Look at the size of it.
Probably walked around it. People had walked around it and just didn't spot it. But you can see the spines on it.
Yeah.
That's a gorgeous shell. Quite fine.
Yeah, so I was thrilled with that.
Yeah.
And then I'll go ahead and pass that around, but
Just be careful.
yeah. But also these are, she's already talked about the lace murex, and I have some in here, kind of a pinkish color, and just one with real kind of purpley edges, tips on it.
Well, you reminded me of something too.
So I'll go ahead and just pass those around, but that was a find, that was a
That's
thrill.
quite fine. Colleen, do you want to say anything, or do you? Well, she's passing. I forgot this. Linda reminded.
Yeah.
It was just outstanding. I forgot to say this in the lace, and I'll pass this around. This is one of my best laces. And it's not that big, but you see the flares and the wings and the tail. I adore this shell. And
Where did you find this one?
years ago, I forgot it, but now, yeah, it's Sanibel Captiva. Yeah.
So you say they're really deep water.
Not the laces, not the laces.
I mean the
The Freddies are not real deep, but they're deeper.
but they're brought in by the storm.
Yeah, they're out there, you know, when they did the dredge, they were out there about, 400 meters, and when they did the dredge, they pulled it in on Boca Raton, so they're out there. But the storms bring them in there. Yeah, and Colleen, now you want to do yours?
I was on Shell Island on Valentine's Day, and
That's a
3
good
minutes.
Valentine's Day.
It was. I hit the trifecta that day. I found a Genonia, I found the Cabriti Murex, and a Rose Murex.
Yeah, that doesn't seem that fair, is it?
And it was interesting because Captain Ryan was on the inside and we were walking back to the boat, and 3 minutes before we got to the boat, something, you know, how you just
You know it's there.
You know, yeah, something just, and I turned toward the water. It was laying on the sand, right at the water's edge, and there it was. And I squealed and goes, "Oh my gosh, what did you find now?"
I think I could hear it from way over here.
With that one, and beside her
Yeah.
with the
Yes.
pneumonia.
Linda, yeah.
That is Linda Hamilton's story.
And Linda was just off my shoulder on both of those.
So, has anybody else ever found cabrettes or cabrettes that you have? Where'd you find yours?
Shell Island, but not that trip.
Well, that one is unusual.
That's beautiful. I had gone a month before with a friend.
Really? And you found it there too? Yeah, the storms were bringing it in. That's when they do.
Here's my rose too.
Yeah, that is an excellent rose too. You want to show people that. You know, and I was saying on the cabrettas, and Colleen's has got the yellow tint. I'm kind of yelling, but I'm sorry if you can hear me or you can't tell me. They have the yellow tint. This is like kindergarten. It's but they can have the cream and the buff, or they can be white. Okay, guys, come back to me in a little bit. Thank you.
And just so you know, Karen, I'm just taking notes. I'm not posting it. I'm writing what you're saying.
Okay. Thank you. Wow. Wow. I'm going to use you all the time. This is one I wanted to show you too. I brought it from my collection. And there is another species of cabreti, and it's a Voxmurex cabreti, but it's the Don Mora, which is named for Don Mora. But and this one, it's slightly different. You can see it. I just thought you'd like to see a different type of species, rare. And this one, Linda Powers. This one, we have a friend, Glenn Gubbie. Linda introduced me to him, who is a shell expert, a shell collector for all. But this is actually from his collection. If you get a collection, he's not got his collection anymore. But if you ever get some shells from his collection, keep them. They're worth a lot of money. Yep. But just to see it, okay. And that's again, those are the Spineys. I'm gonna. Oh man, I gotta move a little faster. But okay, these are all Floridian shells, and I'm concentrating, and West Indies and the Caribbean. Here's one that we also found. Hamilton and I found over, and I'm sure Judy, you and Martha found them too. Is the Hexagonal Muraxes. The Oxytoctus is what they're called in Latin. But these are small shells. I'll pass it around. Hexagonals, but they either can be found pink or they can be found white. We found white ones. This ones were self-collected, but they were big ones. But they found on the inlets too. They can be really tiny, but they're beautiful little shells. They've got little spines, and you can see them. I'm just going to pass them around really quickly, and you can look at those too. These are pretty shallow water shells, but they're uncommon. They're uncommon too. So if you're going to go to the East Coast and dig, we had to find them that way. They'll come in once in a while too. Again, Boca Raton is the best place for the hexagonals. Okay, and then I'm going to move into something that I just absolutely adore. Most people have seen these or got these, but these are the Chicorius brevifrons, or the West Indian Muraxes. How many people have picked those up? These are, yes. Yes, I know you. These are, you can collect them. They actually are down in the Keys. You don't get them very often. But if you go over to where we went, to Puerto Rico, we'll talk, we gave a story, a talk on Puerto Rico, but we'll talk about that. These are they're very frilly. You can see the frills on them, tough shells. Look at nature can make something that beautiful. These are two of my favorites. They're not really that big. You can get a shell that's, when we were in the Dominican Republic and with Linda and Glenn, I think that, I've got some that are like 5 inches. the Puerto Rican ones are the ones that are the gorgeous ones, and these are from Puerto Rico. These are two of my favorites. Actually, this is my favorite reference I brought to show you. And I'll talk about a little bit. Or Linda, do you want to talk about what it's like to be in the mangroves?
So the way you find these guys is you snorkel in amongst the mangroves. Heavy mangroves. The first time I tried to do it, it was real murky. I couldn't find a thing.
Silt cannons.
Yeah, as you move, then all the water, the silt comes up, you can't see a thing. It took us about the third time, and
Not me.
no, but Debbie too. She hadn't had too much luck, but the third time we went to a spot, the water was clear. So you're snorkeling, and it creates like a wall, which is where the mangrove island is, and it's kind of creating a mud wall. The mangrove roots will be, coming down into the water, and you'll just see these clumps, all different shapes and sizes on the mangrove roots. And
They're
then you
usually
start,
striped.
yeah, you recognize that shape, and that's where you'll find it.
Yeah, and they love oysters. That's what they really grow and eat.
It's really scary to snorkel because when you come up, sometimes your snorkel gets caught in the roots, and you think you're gonna drown.
It's a
It's a real challenge to try to find them, but obviously they're worth it.
And before I get into it, I'm going to show this in a minute. Yeah, and it's Puerto Rico is it's an incredible experience. A lot of people go. They're shallow water shells, and so you don't have to dive. You don't have to scuba dive. You have to have a mask, but you can find them pretty easily. But not really. It was pretty hard the first day. I did happen to find them the first day. So, and this one is my favorite rubifrons. Like I said, they're usually brown and white and striped, and they can be big ones. And but it had a purple brown cast. It's kind of faded over now. Beautiful perculums. It's oiled because I wanted to show it off for you guys. This was the baby I found that day too. More typical, the brown and white stripes and stuff like that. But look at the wings on that. It's just.
What's the name again?
It's the Chicorius revifrons or the West Indian Murex. Revifron. And because short fronds. That's what it means. No. So, I'm like, anybody. Those are,
We went to
they're oily.
different spots down there, and the colors would be a little different from spot to spot. It was pretty interesting.
Do we have another Don Mora? I'm missing a Murex. Oh, Sandy. Okay. Really fun, wasn't it? I mean, it's terrifying. It's fun. It is. It's absolutely terrifying. Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna move on. There's also, just to tell you, and I didn't bring these, but I have a couple in my collection. But we also have in this area is the Serratus boweye, gorgeous shell. But they're really deep water. They're from here and they go all the way down to the Caribbean. But I've got them. Usually the frills are gone when they come in because they're so deep water. When I was at the COA in Sanibel and I marked it, I brought the catalog. This is a fantastic. The oral auction was Frederick Weiss. He was a master. He's dead, but he had a shell collection. It was probably one of the finest in the world. And when he died, his family donated it to the COA. A lot of us have bought pieces in his collection. But they had a Serratus. It's right here. It's 35. That is, I was going to buy. It's beautiful. And you can look at the shell. And it's on page 35. But what happened is I was there, and then a lot of us belong to the Sarasota Club too, and the boweye is their shell, like the lightning rock is the Englewood. But they came to me, I'm the treasurer, and they said, I was getting ready to buy it. And they go, we want to buy that for the club shell. And I was like, so we did. And I was going to bring it, but it's over some guy's house. So that in our club. So, but there's a picture of it there. But you can get those too. They're rare. But if you can get a Serratus bowlife and this one went for about $300. That's an incredible good deal. I've seen them go for $4,000, you know, and so it's a rare show that's in this area. The other one is, people have heard, is the giant eastern murex, the big murex. You can go over to the Atlantic coast and go north.
North Carolina.
Yeah,
area.
North Carolina has a lot of them
Yep.
too. You get a good storm, it's time to go up there. We'll do that sometime and do that too. But that's in this area. In the Bahamas, and like I'm talking about. And I'm going to move down to Panama right now, and Panama has a lot, you know, Brad has some Panamanian shells. I didn't bring a whole lot because I knew I was going to be really running long. But this is a trip on the west side of Panama that I went on. And these are the hexaplexes. And the hexaplexes is another genre of murex. And I wanted to show you, they have the regises too, but there's two hexaplexes, and this one is the hexaplex radish. There's also the black murex, and the blacks are just black and white too, but they don't have as many spines. The hexaplex have you know, they're really spiny shells. They're heavy. They're thick at the top. They're kind of pear-shaped. Big aperture. And different sizes. Again, this is a growth cycle. You can see, you know, and you'll see it when I pass it, but you can see the differences. Look at the lovely spines there. And they can, you know, you can get them down to this size. When you get them little like this, they're really clean, and you know, these shells, you don't have to live collect, you can, but you know, there's so many that things eat them that you can get some beauties just in the sand. If anybody's been to Panama or wants to go, I'd recommend it on either the west side or the east side, but these shells, again, they're called the black and whites, but and they do have sharp spines, and when you go in the water to get them. But when you're in, you know, Panama, if you know, Linda's been there, but it's been the tides. They're amazing. I have never seen tides like that. They are certain times of the year. You would never think this, and I thought they were making it up. They actually, we went to a beach that's called Veracruz, and it's about 20 miles from Panama City. Gorgeous beach, but the tide, and I'm not exaggerating, goes out a mile. And you can walk that. You gotta get back before that tide comes in, because it comes in hard. But, yes, sir.
Whereabouts in Panama?
That's on the western side. I'm gonna show you
But how far from the city?
Well, the Veracruz where I got these, that's about 40 miles from the city. No, I'll tell you where it is. It's fantastic if you ever get to go there. But the tide will go way out, and you go out, and the radish murexes are in the sand. My voice is going. They're in the sand, and you can see just the little spines. You know, I don't know, Linda, did you guys pick them up when you guys were down there, or you were more on this side? But that beach is particularly, Marty, the one to go to, and you know, they collect them. The big ones, the bigger one there, they get encrusted by worm shells and things like that, and they're really hard to clean. So, you know, you want to get one of them, but I think Grant's got a really pretty one down here too we can look at. But the little ones are always clean, and they're beautiful, and they've got gorgeous little spikes. Okay. All right, now we're going to get out. We're kind of moving out of Florida and the West Indies and Panama. And like I said, shells are all over. I'm yelling a little bit. Am I yelling too much? Just tell me. I'm going to need a drink after this. I didn't tell you these guys, but I also, you know, you identify. I wanted to say this, and I forgot, for the apple muraxes. I wanted to tell you what I saw. This was, I did Febreze these, so they weren't so horrible. But the egg caps, you've seen the egg cap, you know, okay, and this is on a clam, you can see it's on a clamshell. I'll pass it around if you want to see it. This is an egg casing from a murex, a little one, and it was, and I didn't take it alive, it was up laying in the shell piles. But I wanted to show you what it looks like. I mean, most people have seen them, but but, and I'll pass it around, but here's the most interesting thing about you, and they identify by, they lay, laces and apples lay massive egg casings. They have a big mass of it. One of the best things I ever saw, and I've only seen it once, and I don't know if anybody else has ever seen this, when I was on Sanibel one year, it was a year of the laces. This year is a year of lace Muraxes, I'll tell you that. But there was an egg casing of apple Muraxes. It was bigger than a basketball. It was round, and it had apple Murex females. It had like 8 or 9 apple Muraxes laying their eggs. Everything's they're mating and laying their eggs right now. It's the spring, and it's what they do. But I had never in my life seen that. Has anybody ever seen that too? So you know, it's you know, they're laying on the beaches a lot, but I've never seen them like that. You know, let me try to do this without getting on your hands. Okay. Here. And you know, that's, you know, I still got a little smell there, so don't put your nose on. Okay, so now I'm going to move, like I said, I'm going to move out of Florida and the Panamas, and sorry, I'm in going along. This is one of my favorite shells. I'm not going to pass it. You can come up here and look, but later. But
Excuse me, those egg cases, they make me think also of a tulip.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're similar. This is one of my favorite shells, and it's a West African shell. It's from Senegal. Senegal has a lot of shells. It's hard to compete against the shells, you know. And this is another genre. This is the Ballinases. And it's a Ballinas Coronatus, okay? And what that means in English is the horned murex. Doesn't it look like that, a perfect name? And again, it came out of Senegal. They're not common. You can find them. It's not, you know, it's not. You'd think this shell was, you know, it's got a gorgeous big aperture. The siphon, you remember I told you about the canals? The siphonal canal is really long. It's cool that the varices, which are the ribs, they each have 2 spines on them, and then their spine, this one's particularly spine on the tail, on the canal. They find this, you know, it's a deep water shell. They can find it in shallow water too, but they usually trough for them about 50 meters down. But, it's a club shaped, you know, and they use these. This is a particular murex that has the Tyrian purple. Remember I told you about the dye? And they cut this shell, and it's got the gland, and the Tyrian purple comes from this too. Again, this is a specimen that I got from Frederick Weiss collection too. And some of them, they don't have the spines like this. This one is I think spectacular. You know, yeah. You can come up and look at it. I'm not gonna, if you don't mind. That one's a little bit fragile. Again, that's Senegal, and there's a lot of Senegal Muraxes that we could talk about, but I'm going to move on. Now, I know I'm running a little long, but I'm going to move into where my specimen shells, some of them are things I think are special. And these are mainly Indo-Pacific, and they're the wing shells, but so the first one I'm going to get into is the Spineys, and no, I'm not going to get into Spineys. Where's this? Okay, this is the, you could just, this doesn't look very attractive the way I have it, but I just don't want them to, and it's the Sarasota Bay, and what that excuse me, means is the deer antler murex. And when I show you this, you're going to say, yeah, it looks like a deer antler. And